Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I have some from Scout Comics from their Scoot range, and last but not least Image Comics The Scorched. The first one that I'll be covering my review on will be the Space Cadet. So now it's time to get started. So, jumping into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that happens inside of the story? Sure enough, it does, and I would like to give it a 7 out of 10. I'll now show you some of the internal art, as well as show you some of the things around the story. Though I do feel the story does lack some things, but overall, let's get to it. So, this is some of the art around the beginning. And of course we've got the key character there. It's a bit hard to tell if he's actually at school or wherever. You can definitely see that this is his bedroom. As we jump into the middle of the story, we can see that things start to take place with him on the moon, along with an astronaut. And last but not least, some of the art towards the end. For this art, I gave a 6.5 out of 10. Though I do think a younger audience would definitely probably enjoy it. Now it's time to move to the story. Seeing that this is like a first issue or a one-shot of sorts, it doesn't need any connection to any comic references, which is fantastic. So moving into the next things, time. Do we get any indication of when things take place time-wise, or is it actually pointed out? Not at all, though it would be nice to see it in there. Moving into the locations, of course we had, I'm not even sure if it was a school or a library where he was at the beginning. It wasn't very clear, or even in his home. But we did get to see the moon scene, which played out alright. The cast of characters, well, we never really learned the name of this character that we see on the cover, which I think I can sort of see what the storyteller's doing, but I think it's really missing it, because yes, though we do get to see that they want to be a space cadet, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But what is the character's actual name? I would like to have known the character's actual name to apply it to what his motivation is. And that is the only thing that was lacking in this. And should they ever do more of this issue, please include the name of the character. The cast of characters consisting, of course, the astronaut and the kid who wants to see himself as a space cadet. The rating I gave for this was a 5 out of 10. I think someone younger might enjoy it and give it a higher score. Go ahead. I'll now move to reviewing The Scorched. So now it's time to jump into The Scorched. Starting in the first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside of the story? In some essence it does, and the character that we have there is She-Spawn, and yes, she does appear in it, to which I give the cover a 7.5 out of 10. I will now jump to showing some of the internal art around the beginning, middle and of course the end. So this is some of the art around the beginning, and as you learn in the story here is that it is also taking place in Russia. As we begin to move around the middle, we have some of the key characters who make their appearance in this, such as She-Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Redeemer, and Medieval Spawn, and they are known as the Scorched. And as you can see here, we've got some files, and you learn that these files are connected to something towards the end. Alright, this is still around the middle. Of course, we have a plague spawn there, which you do learn about further in the story. And last but not least, we do see Spawn in this, as he is overseeing some of this operation and, well, making sure that his team works. In other words, they get into a mess, they got to clean it up. So for the internal art, I actually quite enjoyed it all the way through, to which I give the art an 8 out of 10. Now it's time to jump into the story and its rating. Starting off with first things first, did we get any comic references? Sure enough, it did get a comic reference, and it does get a comic reference to something that I have reviewed on the channel, and that is King Spawn. It didn't give any actual indication as to what issue of King Spawn, but I will say one thing, I have been enjoying King Spawn, and I have even been enjoying reviewing it on the channel. Moving into the area of time, about the only thing we got was later. It would have been nicer if it sort of pointed it out as 7, 8, 9 p.m, 10 p.m. It would be nice to see that stuff back in comics again, instead of just written up lazy as later. Moving into the area of locations, we of course had Russia, Crowheart, Wyoming, Renza at Russia, and also, last but not least, Spawn's HQ. The cast of characters consisting of Gunslinger Spawn. I must admit, I do actually like Gunslinger Spawn written this way, more as a support character, as he does feel more like a support character than a main character. Even though I understand what they're trying to do with Gunslinger Spawn, I'm just going to have to wait until the trade of it comes out before I start to fully make my decision if I want to follow it. But it is nice to read something connected to the Spawn universe that I somewhat enjoy. We also had Medieval Spawn. We had the Psalm 137 military division, which was also in Russia. She Spawn, of course, Spawn, a character by the name of Sin. Then we had the profiles of characters that I believe will probably make their appearance a little bit further in this Scorched series, or maybe in one of the other Spawn series. Odessa, Khrushchev, and last but not least, Plague Spawn. For the story rating overall, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.